Our new facility at Banner University Medical Center was designed with you in mind. With private patient rooms, modern design, and advanced technology, we're working to make Tucson's future brighter and your visits easier.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Bruce Montalvo Show, broadcasting live and worldwide from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you for joining me. It's June 12, 2015, and we have a stellar program set for you tonight. It's definitely like an episode of Kung Fu Theater. This is the return of the Bruce. So, let's get right to it. My guest on today's show is an expert regarding all the things that go bump in the night. He is the author of many books on cryptozoology, which is the study of hidden animals. He also covers UFOs, government cover-ups, and the paranormal. You may have seen his work on the History Channel on programs like I believe UFO Hunters, Monster Quest, just great shows. His latest book is titled Secret History, Conspiracies from Ancient Aliens to the New World Order. Joining me now on the show is author Nick Redfern. Hello, Nick. Thank you for being on the program today.
Hey, Bruce. How's it going?
Hey, it's great to have you on. Now, Nick, let's talk about your latest book, as I mentioned, Conspiracies from Ancient Aliens to the New World Order. Now, I haven't gotten my hands on the book yet, but it definitely looks like it's a barn burner. Tell us about it.
Well, basically, the book is a study of conspiracies and stories about how history might have been changed and altered to hide the facts and present another scenario dating back thousands of years right through to the present day. So it covers, the whole ancient astronaut scenario from thousands of years ago, but it also covers such issues as who was Jack the Ripper, did Adolf Hitler survive the Second World War, right up to more modern day things like Area 51 and Roswell and things like that.
Right. So you mentioned Adolf Hitler surviving the Second World War. Now, on my off time, I've just become like a World War II historian of sorts. It's kind of gotten me in trouble a little bit. But, I researched that he actually did get out of Nazi Germany. He didn't die in the fear bunker. He actually made it to Argentina. I mean, the Vatican had something to do with that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, whenever you write a book, I always try and present something new for the reader. And just a couple of years ago, the FBI declassified through the Freedom of Information Act a lengthy file that he put together on Hitler at the end of the Second World War. And it wasn't about a file about Hitler himself, just as it was about him. It was actually about all the rumours and stories that he'd survived the war and faked his suicide. And the FBI had various people on their employ whose entire job for a brief period was to look into all these claims that Hitler did survive the war, possibly fled to South America. And the FBI has now not only declassified the file, but also uploaded it to their website called the Vault, where you can download the entire file. And it paints like a fascinating picture of Hitler essentially staging his suicide in Germany in 1945 when obviously the Nazis were clearly going to lose the war.
Right.
But then from there, it talks about how he was smuggled with his girlfriend Eva Braun to South America on a Nazi submarine, and then possibly smuggled either to Argentina or Chile or possibly Bolivia. The FBI had various stories from different people talking about different locations, and some of the locations could have been sort of created falsely but deliberately to confuse where he really was, to take people off the scent.
Absolutely.
But what's interesting is that the FBI took these stories very, very seriously, that Hitler survived the war, and as I said, they opened almost like a 1940s X-File, if you like, this strange mystery and conspiracy of Hitler surviving the war. And as I said, I found the file, and then the book itself sort of quotes from the files about how it talks about how he was smuggled out of Germany, the name of the submarine, where it was landed in South America, who and how managed to get him a safe haven in the country. And so it's sort of a fascinating bit of alternative history. That's basically the theme of the book. He's looking at major historical incidents where we may actually have been given a totally, bogus story as to what really happened.
Bogus, kind of like the Goebbels suicide right there, right? I mean, that sounds pretty hoaxy to me.
Yeah.
The children.
Yeah, a lot of stories like that where, you have the official story, but it seems so sort of clean-cut and straightforward. But when you look into all the sort of intricate bits of it, you begin to realise that, wow, there's an entirely different story here. And there's more and more data coming forward. But, it's kind of ironic that normally the further you go along in time, the less clear the story becomes. But with Hitler, there's more and more snippets of this story coming out suggesting he actually did escape.
Absolutely. Now, there's also connections with the LDS Church. Many don't know that. They help some of these Nazis also relocate and reassimilate.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Church in the Second World War particularly the Vatican, played a major and controversial role.
Right.
The stories, for example, of the Vatican storing away Nazi gold and priceless treasures like paintings and statues and things like that. And, because it was obviously going to be worth something after the war, and a lot of these Nazis put all this material in safekeeping with the church, so they could basically sell it afterwards and have some money for themselves when it's clear that the war was going to come to an end. And but you find a lot of things like that with the church in league, with the Nazis doing deals with them and hiding all these treasures in deep underground bunkers and things like that. And there are rumours today about sort of Vatican Nazi deals where some of these treasures may still be hidden. Over time, it's literally been forgotten where it's all been stored, and people have died of old age, and the secret has died with them.
That's right. No, I mean, it's right there in front of people's faces. I mean, that Nazi Iron Cross, that's the Vatican's cross right there. They wore it proudly.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realise the importance that things like symbolism often play in things like this. You'll see like an old emblem or a placard or a display, and secret societies pick up on it and they use it for their ends. I mean, it's like the swastika. The swastika is something that everybody associates with the Nazis, but the swastika dates back thousands of years.
Absolutely.
What actually happened was the Nazis basically sort of hijacked it for their own use, but I mean, it has a long and winding history. So in that sense, you find that everywhere where secret societies will pull, an ancient emblem or something like that for their own needs, and it becomes so sort of overbearing that people forget what the original source of it was.
Right. Now, in your book, you mention alien-human hybrids, Egyptian, Mayan mysteries, and this clandestine control of humanity by esoteric groups such as the Freemasons. We mentioned the Vatican earlier, who I personally believe are responsible for most of the misery mankind experiences. But, this book, it dives into the Nazis. You also cover Nazi mind control programs, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably the most famous mind control operation was the CIA's MK Ultra, which kicked off in the early 1950s. But MK Ultra was sort of Navy and various other military studies of mind control and hypnosis and mind manipulation in the late 40s. But where it all sort of began, well, not all began, but a lot of it began was that when the Second World War ended, a lot of German scientists were brought over to the US under an operation called Operation Paperclip.
That's right.
And it was basically, the fear was that when the Nazis were defeated, that the Russians would get their hands on all the German scientists, and because the Germans were actually, at the end of the war, very close to developing their own atomic bomb. So the fear was if the Russians got their hands on the scientists first, then, it could be a major disaster. So the plan was to grab as many of the Nazi scientists and bring them to the US and the UK, and that's what happened. The US had Operation Paperclip, and the UK had a similar program as well. But as well as the fact that the Germans were working on sort of radical aircraft and rocket technology, they were also working on ways in which the human mind could be manipulated. And they're actually looking at everything from like chemical manipulation, not LSD at the time, but sort of hallucinogenics like LSD.
In the 1950s, they did, right, under Operation Midnight Climax.
Yeah, in the 50s, they were involved with everything like peyote, LSD.
Yeah.
But in the 40s, the Nazis actually travelled to various parts of South America and, visited sort of isolated villages and learned some of the secrets that the Nazis had, that the tribespeople had developed, where, they developed hallucinogenic substances from various plants and things like that, for use in like shamanic rituals, that kind of thing. But they realised that these substances could also be used as a means to control and alter the human mind. And so, in other words, when the Nazi scientists were brought over, a lot of their research was incorporated to what was already beginning in the UK and the US and out in Russia into ways to see if things like hypnosis, mind manipulation could be used in scenarios like so-called Manchurian candidates, like trained assassins, or even to interrogate captured Russian spies with like truth serums, where they would just spill the beans on everything they knew, so to speak.
Right. No, that's definitely what happened there. The Nazis, they basically switched teams. They became CIA, like you said, under Operation Paperclip. Now, I believe also they probably have a lot to do with Plum Island and, the freaks that wash up on shore, such as like the Montauk creature, for instance.
Well, yeah, I mean, just to get back to the first point you said about that, about them switching sides, it was basically one of these classic situations of, the offer you can't refuse, It's like the mafia saying to you, you work for us or else. You have no choice.
Well, that's exactly how it is. It's exactly how it is.
You know what the or else is going to be. You're going to find yourself in a lump of concrete 200 feet in the bottom of the ocean or whatever. And that was the kind of thing with the Nazis. It was, you either work for us or you get tried as a war criminal. What are you going to do? So they work for us, But yeah, you're right. This sort of spun out into various offshoots. You had, the Germans, we were actually really lucky, thankfully lucky. We were really lucky that we won the war because the Nazis were developing some incredible technologies. Like, in the end of as the Second World War closed, they were actually planning to build rockets that could fly to the US and literally drop atomic bombs on mainland USA. It was just 70 years ago, like transatlantic rockets and just, flattening the US. That was the plan they had.
Right.
So we were really lucky that we won. But when we did win, obviously, the idea was we've got to make use of this technology, otherwise the Russians are going to get it. And, there were, when you mentioned Plum Island and things like that, the Nazis were working on some really, terrible, outrageous programs, it's human experimentation and things like that, where...
Inhuman.
For example, inhuman. Where, for example, they would inject people with, antifreeze and expose them to high and low temperatures to see how the human body can react to.
Mengele, definitely the most wretched creature lingering amongst the Third Reich.
Oh yeah, like Joseph Mengele. You know, the dangerous thing about Joseph Mengele was that he was incredibly brilliant, but he was a deranged, psychopathic lunatic. You know, and when you put a lunatic together with, you know, a lunatic mind with a brilliant mind, you know, that's when danger really starts. When I say brilliant, I don't mean in terms of respecting him. I mean in terms of he was just a deranged lunatic. But as I said, when you point at brilliance here, he was like a crazed, a sort of power-driven person. And I mean, some of the things he did, for example, he tried to alter the colour of like children's eyeballs. You know, it ended up in blindness, and he literally sewed people together to see how they would react to, you know, different blood types being, you know, swimming around two bodies that are now conjoined. I said he did low pressure and high pressure and high altitude and low altitude experiments on people, and unfortunately, you know, the files were brought over, and people said, well, we've got to learn from this. And as horrible as it sounds, a lot of the early research into how people would be exposed adversely to, you know, massively high altitudes, a lot of it, unfortunately, was learned from the German experiments. And but, you know, I mean, thankfully we won the war. We defeated them. And
wow. No, you know, one thing about the Germans, I don't want to praise them, the Nazi Germans, but, you know, they knew how to dress. You know, they had those cool Hugo Boss jackets, right?
Well, that was part of the, you know, if you read the history of the Nazis since, what you find is that psychologically they did that for a reason. You know, if you look at, say, like the British uniforms that the troops had in the war, it's just sort of like a green, khaki, badly fitting suit and sort of Doc Martin boots, that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to fight a war, you know, so you kept the cost of the uniforms to minimum. Main thing was the weapons, you know, to beat the Germans. But the Germans, they had sort of this shrewd approach of sort of kitting their guys out, you know, with like leather boots, you know, sort of bluish uniforms, lots of medals and emblems, and, you know, the higher ups had sort of long coats and the peak caps. And as I said, if you look at the sort of historical books that have been written about the Nazis, you find they did that deliberately because it actually encouraged the people, the German youth, to join up. They were like, wow, you know, this puts me above everybody else. You know, I'm going to be strutting down the street in this cool uniform. That's how they looked at it. And unfortunately for us, it worked. You know, that the Nazi war machine literally indoctrinated the youth into joining, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, Hitler, Germany, you know, took on the world. You know, they took on the rest of Europe apart from Italy and the Pacific. You know, Japan. It was just literally Germany, Italy, and Japan against the US, the UK, all of Europe, Australia, and they almost won. And it was because you know, Hitler was very good at manipulating people and the entire German population to come on board, and that's why he was so dangerous and deadly.
You know, that's funny. I agree with you, Nick, but, you know, other investigators such as Jim Mars, you know, they've gone on record saying that the Nazis won, actually. What do you think of that?
They were what, sorry?
That the Nazis won the war.
Well, you know, I mean, I think people say that because the Nazis, unfortunately, you know, a lot of the leading Nazis did survive the war. I mean, don't forget Werner von Braun.
Exactly.
I'm originally from England. Werner von Braun actually built and designed the V2 rockets that bombed the hell out of the UK, where I'm from, in the Second World War.
Yes, that's fair.
Werner von Braun, you know, became one of the major figures in NASA. You know, so in other words, you can make an argument that the Nazis actually did succeed in, you know, having major places in history. I mean, you know, that's not hearsay. If you Google NASA plus Werner von Braun, you'll see officially at NASA's website how Werner von Braun was brought over, you through this Operation Paperclip, agreed to work over here, and became a major figure in NASA and a major figure in developing the rockets that sent us to the moon. And yet only a couple of decades earlier, he was bombing the hell out of Europe on behalf of Adolf Hitler. So, in that sense at least, the Nazis weren't defeated. Some of them actually went on to hold major positions of power.
Absolutely. And Werner von Braun actually said that they had out of this world type help to even get the atom bomb.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of interesting stories about the Nazis and advanced technology and possible flying saucer technology, and developing saucer-shaped aircraft. And there's a lot of long-standing stories about when the Allies overran Germany at the end of the Second World War and found the various factories and underground installations that the Nazis had, reportedly stumbling on circular-shaped aircraft that we would call flying saucers. And a lot of rumours. Well, where did they get that technology from? Was it from a German Roswell, a crashed UFO, or were they developing circular-shaped craft? And coincidentally, at the same time, that aliens are flying around circular-shaped craft as well. So there's a lot of intriguing and unanswered questions, about the Nazis.
Absolutely. Now, Nick, they consider you a cryptozoologist. You're a cryptozoologist, right? Tell our listening audience about your definition about what a cryptozoologist is.
Cryptozoology is probably my biggest interest. UFOs, conspiracies, two of the areas I focus on. Excuse me, but cryptozoology is my sort of favourite thing, and it's the study of unknown animals like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, the Abominable Snowman, Ogopogo, lake monsters, the Chupacabra. The list goes on and on, Mothman. And
right.
The reason why I got interested is when I was a kid, I was about 6 years old, and my mum and dad took me on a week's holiday to Scotland, and while we were there, we spent a day at Loch Ness, and my dad told me the story of the Loch Ness Monster. And that's sort of what got me interested. I was only about 6, but even today I've still got a couple of sort of fragmentary memories of my dad telling me the stories. I stood on the shore, about this weird or colony of weird creatures, nobody knew what they were, living in Loch Ness. And, Loch Ness is kind of a creepy place. It's like 22 miles long, about a mile wide, 700-800 feet deep, and has a long history of weird creatures. And I was like, wow, monsters in Loch Ness. You kind of look at it as a very black and white, simple term when you're like 6,
Right.
But then as I got older, I began reading books by people like John Keel, Brad Steiger, Eric von Daniken, things like that. And it sort of opened me up not just to the field of cryptozoology, but UFOs and other unsolved mysteries. And I sort of took it from there, really. And when I finished my education, I say education, I wasn't exactly the best student at school. I was one of the classic late-started disruptive types and didn't want to be told what to do and didn't understand why I had to learn algebra and didn't want to learn algebra and didn't learn algebra. And,
oh, man. Sounds familiar.
Just like, giving the finger, to all the teachers and whatever. And when I left school, I actually landed very luckily on a job with a magazine called Zero, which is like a fashion, music, like rock music, punk music, fashion, entertainment, celebrity type magazine. I did that for a couple of years, and they taught me all the backgrounds in journalism. And then I thought, well, why not try and combine the background in journalism with the interest in UFOs and cryptozoology? So over the years, I've written about 10 books on UFOs, about 10 on cryptozoology, and another 10 on various other subjects as well. But yeah, cryptozoology is one of my favourites because I enjoy going on expeditions. I've been on a lot of expeditions to Puerto Rico looking for the Chupacabra, and I said like Loch Ness, and Mexico looking into stories of vampires there, and so all sorts of stuff. But I enjoy sort of road trips, and that's how I write the cryptozoology book, sort of It's a dark and stormy night, and I jumped in the car and spun the wheels. That's sort of how the books were written.
No, yeah, you have just an amazing library of just, like I said earlier, all the things that go bump in the night. But from that library, one of the first books I got familiar with of yours was NASA Conspiracies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Where you debunked the face on Mars. I thought there was a face on Mars, right? Tell us about that book.
Well, I don't know if I actually debunked it. What I did, I primarily relied on a big interview I did with a guy, unfortunately now dead, Matt Tonis, who wrote a book called After the Martian Apocalypse. And, Matt had a sort of very balanced approach. And, I have an open mind on the face on Mars. I don't sort of, debunk it or deny it. I think, it's a fascinating something, and Mac wrote this book called After the Martian Apocalypse, and so I specifically interviewed him about his thoughts, and he had sort of a refreshing approach in the sense that he thought that some of these structures were genuinely artificial, but he felt that the sort of sensationalism that surrounded it had made people think that everything that looked vaguely odd was extraterrestrial, and that was kind of a refreshing approach where he felt some of it was real, but he wasn't endorsing everything. And that's kind of my approach, is that I actually think the face on Mars is legitimately intriguing, particularly because you also have these weird pyramid type structures in the same vicinity.
There are other things, right? There are other things that can be seen in these NASA pictures, like satellites. What is it like? It basically like cities, like little colonies of sorts.
Yeah. Now there are
farming.
Some pictures where I think it is what's called the equivalent of what's called pareidolia, which is basically where it's like the equivalent of seeing faces in clouds. The brain interprets things in weird ways. But in saying that, I still think that there is value in the study of the face on Mars and these pyramid-type structures. And, if it was proven, if we go there one day and it's shown that there were ancient structures, I'm not going to drop down in a dead faint. You know what I mean? I would actually
be expecting it.
It would not surprise me if there was some sort of ancient civilization on Mars in the distant past.
Wow. Now let's tackle another groundbreaking bombshell conspiracy here. It's the moon landing. Now, I was shocked, Nick, when I heard people like Donald Rumsfeld, Richard Helms, Henry Kissinger, among other U.S. world leaders, openly admit in a French documentary that the U.S. staged the moon landing. Did you see that documentary? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole moon landing issue is, I say, could be the subject of an entire book. It has been. Numerous books have been written about that subject, and it's a controversial area. My personal view on the moon landings is that I think we did go to the moon, but I don't think we've come anywhere near to knowing the full story of what happened on the moon and the reasons and the motivations behind the missions. I mean, if you look, it's interesting because if you look back at the original newspaper report that surrounded the original landings from 69 to 72, you see how NASA had all these grand plans to create like a small moon base on the moon. We would keep going back, and it would be added to, and it would get bigger, and it would be used as like a staging and a launch pad to then send manned missions to Mars. But what actually happened was that after the last moon landing in 72, pretty much nothing was done apart from the Skylab space station, and then we had the space shuttle, which is now mothballed, So in other words, all these huge plans came to an end, and I find it particularly intriguing, this one theory, that we may have been warned away, and that might explain why all these big plans, to build moon bases and colonies and, have like a permanent presence on the moon and then presence on Mars. That might explain why we went from having these huge plans in the late 60s and early 70s to essentially just the space shuttle, and now that's gone. Maybe we were warned away. Maybe somebody said, hey, this is our property, this is our territory, get the hell off it or else,
Yeah, I mean, I even heard that the moon is a base itself, some type of flying saucer of sorts.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting theory because, the idea, one of the theories is that certain portions of the moon might be sort of hollowed out. And so, in other words, what we might have is a situation where, all the UFOs that people see flying around, people assume they're coming back and forth from this star system or that star system. But the more intriguing theory is that there's actually sort of permanent, possibly underground bases on the moon where these entities and their craft come from. So in other words, they're not forced to travel light years from here and there. They actually sort of jump, barely 250,000 miles, which they can do in no time at all. And there's no doubt that, astronomers, for example, have photographed and seen strange anomalies on the moon, like weird flashes of light and strange spires, and you can even see some of NASA's pictures, what look like installations and, facilities on the surface of the moon. So it wouldn't surprise me if the moon had not been sort of used as like a staging post for extraterrestrials. It's the sort of thing we do. It's like like the war in Iraq. It's not like you take off from a military base in California, fly to Iraq, bomb it, and then fly back to California. No, you have like basic little outposts and staging posts in the Middle East, where you fly back and forth. So it could be a similar thing where the moon is essentially seen as like a military facility rather than a satellite,
That's funny you mentioned the military because, as I mentioned, some of those high-ranking officials, they control the military. I mean, Kissinger said that the military are to do their bidding, that they're dumb goons, something to that nature. But, in that French documentary, they stated that Stanley Kubrick was the guy responsible for directing the moon landing. The footage we see, there are so many anomalies that basically just make this a total hoax, I believe. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can look at it several ways. There's the idea that, we just did not go to the moon, period, that nothing happened. I mean, the one theory that follows that path is the idea that things like cosmic rays, radiation, just prevented us doing it, it would just kill the people.
Right, the Van Allen belt.
The Van Allen belt, yeah. Then the second theory is that it all happened exactly as we're told. And then the third theory is that yes, we went, but we haven't been given half of the story. And I kind of fall into the third category. I think we did go to the moon, but I think far more went on across those flights than we're ever going to really know. That may include film footage taken, photographs of UFOs, things like that. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if in the years that have gone by since then and the way in which technology has advanced, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there had been sort of clandestine manned missions to the moon in the 80s, 90s, and ongoing to this day.
Right, that's another thing I wanted to ask. I mean, why haven't we, sorry to cut you off, but why haven't we been able to go back to the moon?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, you can look at it one of two ways. Either we didn't go back because, either you can look at it from the funding perspective that they said it wasn't worth it, or we could have been warned off, by extraterrestrials or interdimensional creatures or whatever these things are. So that's the one scenario. The other one is that we actually did go back, but we weren't, the general public and the media wasn't told. And I think that's an interesting scenario, the idea that, while NASA's been building, continue to build all these chemical rockets like the space shuttle and things like this, what if some other sort of clandestine, almost like unofficially acknowledged to exist scientific program actually does exist, and they've developed technologies that possibly, an agency that's not even answerable to the president or Congress, they may not even know it exists, but almost like an alternative, secret, very deeply buried space program, which actually has travelled back to the moon and possibly to some even some of the planets. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that has actually happened.
Right. I mean, it's just the average person is bombarded with so much disinformation. I mean, going back to the Majestic 12, who are basically the founders of putting out disinformation, right? Are the Majestic 12, would you agree that they're the real men in black?
Well, Majestic 12 or MJ12, as people have called it, it basically is sort of a term to describe like a super secret agency that really oversees the entire UFO program. Now, whether it's actually called MJ12, Majestic 12 or something else, I don't know. But I am personally convinced that the real sort of deep, dark UFO secrets are held by some sort of super secret elite agency or body of people that really is answerable to no one. And as I said with the moon landings, I think the reason they're so well buried is because they're sort of black budgeted. They get their funding through alternative means. Congress doesn't know they exist. There's no congressional oversight. The White House may not even know they exist. But I think they're really the ones, not just hiding the information, but as you said, sort of manipulating the disinformation, spreading bogus stories, spreading alternative scenarios for different cases. So what we end up with is sort of a totally sort of spinning head because we're completely confused as to what's really going on. And that's a good psychological way of hiding the truth. If you're not able to hide it, you confuse it. And with the UFO subject, it's impossible for any government to hide the fact that people see UFOs. But if you can't hide it, well, subtly put out a series of different scenarios for this case or that case, and you have researchers running around like headless chickens, pursuing different scenarios, still not getting anywhere, while the real story remains hidden.
How many of those UFO sightings that we see today, how many of those do you believe are reverse engineered technology, basically our own aircraft up there that we see?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the big problem. If you go back to the 40s and 50s, when there were a lot of really good, highly credible reports of UFOs, I don't think there's any doubt there's no doubt in my mind that these were genuine UFOs from somewhere else. Now, as I said, whether interplanetary, interstellar, intergalactic, or interdimensional or something like that, we don't know, but it wasn't us, because we clearly weren't flying anything like that in the 40s and 50s. Now, in saying that, the problem we face today when it comes to trying to identify UFOs is that the more and more our technology develops, the more and more difficult it's going to be to differentiate between a genuine UFO and something that might be a really advanced device of ours. Now, for example, back in 1989 when the stealth bomber and the stealth fighter were unveiled, these weird-looking triangular-shaped black-coloured aircraft, they look really weird. Now, we know they were on the drawing board 10 years before, so if somebody had seen those 10 years earlier, late at night, they would have sworn they'd seen a UFO. And possibly the military would have been very happy for people to think it was a UFO because it acted as good cover. And of course, like with drones today, military drones and even drones you can buy in your local store, they look odd, some of them do. And particularly if you saw them at an elevated height, you would think, wow, it's a UFO. So I think the problem is we're now at that stage where it is becoming more and more difficult to know what is ours and what is sort of, quote, theirs,
Now, Nick, give us your take on what happened in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. It's an interesting take. You actually talk about it in your book, Body Snatchers in the Desert.
Well, yeah, Roswell to me is one of the most important, it is the most important UFO case because it's the one that has the potential to really blow the whole thing wide open, because in a lot of UFO cases you have photographs, you have witness testimony, which is all good, but Roswell potentially offers the ability to have, for one day, for us to find like wreckage of bodies. When you find the sort of the jewel, so to speak, you can solve it. So that's body snatchers in the desert, which looked at an alternative theory for Roswell. Now, what I did, a lot of people got kind of confused about the nature of the book and how it was written and why it was written. The book basically told the story of 9 or 10 retired elderly people who worked in the military and the intelligence community who claimed that what actually happened at Roswell was the flight and the crash of a very sort of high altitude balloon using human guinea pigs to test how the human body would react when exposed to high altitudes and things like this. Now, as I point out, what I did in the book was to say, well, this is a story that was told to me, but all the guys who told me the story worked in the field of like counterintelligence, psychological warfare, and things like this. So could it have been another layer of the conspiracy to hide the fact that aliens really did crash at Roswell, and that's what I pointed out in the book, but a lot of people thought I was debunking the alien angle, which actually wasn't. I was saying, hey, this is a story that was given to me about an alleged human experiment in relation to Roswell. Is it real or is it not? Here's a story. I want to put it out so we can all debate it and see where it leads. But,
Right.
a lot of ufologists see everything black and white. They said, oh, Nick's saying aliens didn't crash at Roswell, which actually didn't say at all. It was just a case of looking at the theory and trying to figure out if it had merit or if it was just, like I said, another tier, another layer in the conspiracy too.
Another Bubba-meister, another tall tale.
Yeah, and even to this day, 10 years after the book was written, if people ask me, do I think aliens crashed at Roswell, I think there's a very good chance they did. Because the problem is with Roswell, we know the story has been changed and manipulated and various scenarios have been put forward so many times. And it's almost 70 years ago. So for that to keep being done, clearly something far more significant happened than a weather balloon coming down. And so for that reason, that's why I think it's important we keep digging into Roswell, because more than any other, it is the one case that has the potential to offer us something tangible where we can prove it. No disrespect to somebody who saw a light in the sky or a flying saucer, but there's not much you can do about that beyond, gather the witness testimony. Now, of course, witnesses are very important. They're probably the most important people in the subject, because without the witnesses, we've got nothing to go on. But if you can actually find a location where dead alien bodies are stored and there's wreckage from 47, that would end the cover-up overnight, and that's why Roswell remains an important case.
Right. Now, you wrote your first book in '97, right? Covert Agenda.
Yeah.
Did you tackle the Rendlesham Forest incident in that book?
Yeah, I actually did. One of the things I always try and do, even for the first book, is when I'm writing a book, I always think, well, if I'm going to write a book, people are going to buy it, you want to be able to give them something new. You don't want to just go over old ground, because what's the point of just pulling 50 words from this book or 100 words from that book and just pretending it's your own? It's pointless and it's kind of pathetic as well, really, So I always try and give the reader something new, and Covert Agenda was a study of something that actually had never been written about before, and that was all the early files that the British government started to declassify through the Freedom of Information Act and various other acts that existed in England back at the time. Now, I spent a lot of time at the British National Archives digging deeply into a lot of their declassified files from the 40s onwards, and found a lot of UFO reports that no one had ever seen before. Ironically, they'd been declassified years earlier, but nobody had bothered to sort of spend days, weeks digging into, thousands of pages of old dusty files in the hope of finding something. But I thought, well, nobody's done it, so it's about time somebody did. But I actually found a lot of reports from military pilots, radar operators from the 40s onwards, close encounters over military bases, all this kind of thing. And I thought, this is totally never been seen before. So that was the theme of Covert Agenda, was to write a book on the government files, and of course I didn't want to just focus on the 40s and 50s. So I dug in, again, used things like the Freedom of Information Act to get hold of more recent files like Rendlesham and things like this, and try and paint a picture of the entire history of the British government's involvement in UFOs. And I mean, Rendlesham's like Britain's Roswell. I've been to Rendlesham Forest more times than I can count, and it's sort of large, spooky area, woodland, and the old military bases, the twin bases, Woodbridge and Bentwaters, they've been closed down for years now. They're basically not military bases anymore. They're, companies just hire out the units. You have like photocopying companies to whatever, and so, the history is still there, the legend and the lore and everything else. The bases are gone, and the forest's still there, obviously. But for me, Rendlesham is one of the most, like Roswell, it's one of the most important. What sort of makes Rendlesham really stand out is the fact that practically all the guys who were involved are still alive. We're only talking 35 years ago, and a lot of them were only like 20, 21 at the time. So they're sort of 53, 54, 55, 56. They're not sort of with Roswell, guys in their 80s on the deathbed or anything like that. And I think that's what makes Rendlesham important. We've got a lot of still living people and very credible people as well.
Right. Now, that leads me to my next question, Nick. You said you've been out there investigating these crypto creatures and just, creepy, scary type topics. Have you ever found yourself where you were like in over your head, maybe had a terrifying encounter of sorts?
Well, I'm one of these people who, when I'm in sort of dicey situations, I don't get scared. It's sort of, I get sort of like amplified, it's sort of that fight or flight thing. I don't flight or run, I fight, and so for me, being out in the woods, coming across things like, big footprints and, making plastic casts, I got plastic casts of things like Bigfoot footprints right here in my apartment. To find things like that, or to hear weird howlings in the woods, that doesn't make me sort of back off and want to race back to the Winnebago or whatever, it makes you want to push on further. My view is that if you're going to do this sort of research, you've got to go all the way. I mean, if you can investigate Bigfoot, don't back away at the last minute. So my view is that whatever happens, just keep pushing, and that's how we hopefully can get the answers. But there have been some strange experiences, literally like hearing weird howlings in the woods, and where Bigfoot has been seen, and kind of this strange sense of being watched, and things like that. And it can kind of get sort of hair raising and creepy and weird, but that's what I signed up for,
That being said, leads us to our next topic. Is the U.S. government engineering creatures that may be half man, half ape? I hear out there that they're called humanzees.
Well, yeah, the humanzee issue is a controversial one. It actually goes back to the 1920s when the Soviet government under Joseph Stalin was looking at the idea to try and figure out if people could be crossbred with apes. Now, in terms of our DNA, if you look at, for example, chimpanzees, a human DNA is almost like 98% compatible. But it's that 2% difference that makes us look like people and makes chimpanzees look like chimpanzees. But it literally is only a 2% difference. That's how closely our DNA matches. And so, over the years, various experiments have been done to try and crossbreed humans and apes. And certainly the first person who did this was a Russian scientist named Ilya Ivanov. And he was actually funded by the Russian Academy of Sciences to try and crossbreed humans and apes. And what he basically did was to impregnate female gorillas and female chimpanzees with human sperm. Now, the official story is that the experiments, some of which occurred in Russia and some of which took place in the Congo in Africa, the official story is that all the experiments failed, that, the eggs and the sperm failed to effectively, come together because of this small diversion in the DNA makeup. But there have always been rumours that some of these experiments did work and gave birth to sort of freakish, half-human, half-ape, sort of handicapped, mentally challenged creatures is probably the best way to describe them. And there's stories about them being put to sleep and because, the response that they created and things like this. Now, that was way back when. Now, today, of course, we're not reliant on the simplistic approach of just trying to impregnate one animal via another. We're talking about things like gene splicing. Now, most countries today have rigid laws in place to try and prevent sort of freakish experiments taking place where, you don't have impregnation anymore, but you have literal attempts to gene splice different animals and create hybrids. And, these, as you mentioned at the beginning of this question, these creatures known as humanzees, half human, half apes. Now, again, officially the story is this has not been done because it would violate the laws. Well, then there are rumours that, the laws have been violated. That's why the stories have been denied. But there's no doubt that the further our technology develops, that we have the potential to do this more and more. For example, in Britain, laws actually exist to allow for the combining of entirely different species and the splicing, providing that they're destroyed after a set number of days, which is I think it's like 15 days, they can only keep them alive. But again, there are rumours that, the laws have been bent and twisted, and it's resulted in the creation of some really freakish, half-human, half-animal animals.
It reminds me of something from Dr. Moreau or something like that.
Well, it's actually just like that, H.G. Wells' novel, The Island of Dr. Moreau, which made into various movies over the years. H.G. Wells, in many respects, was way ahead of himself in many respects. I mean, War of the Worlds, his book about this, a Martian invasion of the Earth. Well, in the movie, the book and the movies, the Martians were defeated because when they were killed by the flu virus, they had no immunity to it. Now, our astronauts, when they went to the moon, when they came back, they had to go in quarantine because NASA was worried that they might bring back alien viruses with them. So, H.G. Wells really sort of anticipated that, and also the Invisible Man. He anticipated how, like today, a lot of experimentation has been undertaken to try and figure out if invisibility can be achieved. And The Island of Dr. Moreau, which was a story of this deranged scientist trying to crossbreed animals with people, and now, we can, to a degree, actually do that.
Right. No, Moreau kind of reminds me of Mengele too. He's got like the same suit that supposedly Mengele was spotted with in Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, in the novel, Dr. Moreau comes across as this sort of power-crazy, egotistical, mad guy who thinks he's essentially like a god. He's creating a new species, he's bringing life, and that's what, a lot of the Nazis were like that. They were deranged, they were power-hungry, they saw the Nazis as being the master race, and that gave them the right to sort of dabble with the forces of nature as they sort of pleased,
Like those creatures even called one of the actors on there Master. He was blonde-haired and blue eyes.
Yeah, well, that's like another aspect of it, the idea of trying to synthesize what they call, laughingly, the master race. Well, they turned out, fortunately for us, not to be the master race, but had things gone wrong and, we did beat the Germans, I mean, who knows what they would have done in, quote, the name of science, it could have been sort of a very dark and disturbing world had the Germans won the war.
Absolutely. Now, Nick, give us your top 10 crypto creatures that you've investigated.
Oh, wow. Well, my number one would probably be would be the chupacabras. I've been on a lot of expeditions to Puerto Rico looking for the chupacabra, this sort of strange vampire-type creature that drains the blood out of farm animals. People describe it as having, glowing red eyes, bat-like wings. And then, of course, you have, the more recent chupacabras that have been reported in the US, but they're clearly a different type of creature.
They found one in Texas, right? They found one out there. You're out there in Texas. Was that a hoax?
Yeah, I'm in Dallas, yeah.
Was that a hoax where that family captured one of these things?
No, that's not a hoax at all. What they are, they're sort of mutated. They're canids. They're clean. Some of them are actually coyotes, but they're developing in a weird way without hair, and a lot of bodily changes. So something is mutating them, whether it's genetic secret experiments or something like contamination, pollution. We don't know, but the US chupacabra is different to the Puerto Rican one. But I would say certainly my favourite thing to look into has been the Puerto Rican chupacabra. Then I would say things like various lake monsters, Mothman. There's a British equivalent of Mothman known as the Owlman.
Right, that was Maumins, or how do you pronounce it? Maumins, Owlman. He would fly over a cemetery, scared two young children.
Yeah, this was a town in the southwest of England called Mornan. And it was like a creepy, again like Mothman, it had wings, it was humanoid, had glowing eyes, and it would sort of haunt a specific area and sort of
an owl.
Create fear in it. But it looked more like an owl than like a bird, but like a feathery. But it was very much sort of had a humanoid shape, but it was about 5 feet tall, so it clearly wasn't, your average regular barn owl or anything like that. But those would be sort of my top 5. But there are other ones that interest me as well. The famous case from the early 50s called the Flatwoods Monster. Again, like a glowing-eyed floating creature seen in West Virginia. There's also the Kelly Hopkins case from Kentucky in 55, where these strange goblin-like creatures attacked a bunch of people in a farmhouse. So there's a lot of, various creatures that over the years have intrigued me in terms of investigations. But things like Bigfoot and lake monsters, I guess, are some of the ones that sort of fascinate me more.
Do you think these creatures are able to travel in between, let's say, possibly interdimensional portals of sorts? They're able to move in and out easily?
Well, that's actually a good question, because cryptozoology, sort of ostensibly, is the study of unknown animals. Now, a lot of cryptozoologists take the view that, Bigfoot is just a North American equivalent of a gorilla, of an African gorilla. In other words, Bigfoot is an unknown ape. They believe the same about the Yeti in the Himalayas, and China has its own version called the Yeren, and Australia has one called the Yowie. And same with various other creatures, but I take a different view. The idea that a lot of these creatures seem to have paranormal overtones attached to them. They come and they're here 1 minute, they're gone the next, they vanish in a flash of light. They're often associated with UFO activity and paranormal activity, not just in the same time frame, but in the exact same place as well. Right. So my view is that there's no doubt in my mind that Bigfoot exists, but I'm more inclined to think it's not just a hidden ape, like an equivalent of an African gorilla that we haven't classified yet. I actually think Bigfoot is something paranormal that, for the most part, exists in another reality, but can actually briefly, when it chooses, go into our reality, and that may explain why these things are so elusive, because they're actually only here part of the time.
Wow. Well, Nick, it's that time. It's time to wrap up the broadcast. It's been great having you on. Give our audience, our listening audience, your website so they can look into your work.
All right, well, I have a blog, which is Nick Redfern Fortean, which is Fortean, nickredfern.blogspot.com. I update that most days with latest UFO news, crypto news, paranormal stuff. Also write regularly for a website called Mysterious Universe, and people can look me up on Facebook or Twitter. Just send me a friend request. Got any questions? We want to share information. I'm always happy to listen and offer advice, etc. Or just type my name into Amazon as well, and they can find me there too.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick, for being on the program today.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Look forward to many more interviews. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for today's broadcast. Your avant-garde agitator will return next Friday, every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's right, folks. So be sure to tune in. Be sure to go to the Bruce Montalvo Show. Look us up on TalkStream Live. This has been the Bruce Montalvo Show. This is Bruce signing out. Till next time.
This spring, get the amazing iPhone XR on us when you bring your family to T-Mobile and trade in your old device. You'll be snapping, streaming, and sharing to your heart's content. Visit a store or call 1-800-T-Mobile and get an iPhone XR on us.
Via 24 monthly bill credits for well-qualified customers plus tax. Qualifying trade-in, service, 2 or more lines and finance agreement required. Contact us before canceling or credit stop with remaining balance due. 64 gigabytes zero down plus $31.25 per month for 24 months. Pre-credit price $749.99, 0% APR, one offer per account.
Banner University Medicine is dedicated to bringing the best medical care to the Tucson community. Our newest hospital was designed with your health in mind. With 228 private patient rooms, 22 operating rooms, and more than $50 million in patient care technology, your care and comfort are our top priority. Banner University Medicine, making Tucson's future brighter and your visits easier. Now open at 1625 North Campbell Avenue. Online at bannerhealth.com/University Tucson.